The Battle of Yavin, also known as the Battle of the Death Star, was a major and decisive battle of the Galactic Civil War, in which the Rebel Alliance was able to destroy Palpatine's superweapon, the Death Star, and was seen as one of the first major victories over the Galactic Empire. Although the Empire had taken a critical hit and lost a multitude of their troops and soldiers who were on the Death Star, the Empire did not just dissolve after the Battle of Yavin, and instead learned from their defeat and quickly pushed the rebellion back onto the defensive. In the canon book, Star Wars: Battles That Changed the Galaxy, how the outgunned rebellion strike force was able to destroy the Death Star is shown in detail, as well as how the Empire learned and benefited from their loss at Yavin and used it to their advantage. Let's get right into it. The Battle of Yavin saw the Rebel Alliance, armed with only a small number of starfighters, facing the most powerful superweapon that had ever been fielded by the Galactic Empire. The Death Star, a moon-sized space station with more firepower than half of the Imperial Starfleet combined, was en route to its target on the fourth moon of Yavin, where the Rebel Alliance kept their most vital base and housed much of their leadership. If the Death Star could orbit around the planet Yavin, the station's Kyber crystal-powered superlaser would destroy the entire moon, and with it, any hope of victory for the rebellion. Despite their technological disadvantage, the rebels had received complete technical readouts of the station from the Rogue One team at Scarif. Together, with intelligence that a weakness had been planted inside, the rebels formulated a plan to strike a weak point on the surface of the station. The approach was dangerous, requiring a trio of fighters to skim along the surface of a Meridian Trench to give their targeting computers enough time to lock onto the station's weak point and fire torpedoes. More difficult still, the attackers only had 15 minutes to deal a crippling blow before the Death Star would be in firing range of Yavin 4. As the rebels had expected, the battle station's anti-ship weapons dealt minimal casualties to the attacking starfighters, having been designed for larger capital ship scale targets, while the Death Star's stationary defense towers were vulnerable to strafing runs by the nimble fighter craft. The tide of the battle turned with the arrival of Imperial TIE fighters, and the ensuing dogfights were fierce and violent. The rebel losses were mounting. These skirmishes served their purpose as a distraction from the real target, a bombing run conducted by Gold Squadron's Y-wing bombers. With minutes left before the battle station was in range, Imperial analysts discovered the true meaning of the rebel attack strategy and requested that additional squadrons be launched to counter the bombers. Grand Moff Tarkin, who retained sole authority to deploy them, declined. The leaders of Gold and Red squadrons both attempted bombing runs, but both met the same fate as they were run down by a flight of TIEs that had been commandeered by Darth Vader himself. With the squadron's ranks dwindling and leadership gone, it fell to Red Squadron's newest recruit to make one final attempt. Red 5, Luke Skywalker. His attack run would have likely ended in failure had it not been for a last-minute reinforcement. In the heat of battle, Captain Han Solo joined the fight in a highly modified freighter and provided vital covering fire for Luke Skywalker in the final moments of his attack run. By the time Skywalker reached his target, the Death Star had already commenced its firing sequence. The station was but seconds away from firing when his proton torpedoes found their target, entering the 2-meter-wide exhaust port and causing a chain reaction that led to the volatile main reactor. The hasty analysis of the plans provided earlier by Rogue One proved correct, and the rebellion let out a collective sigh of relief. Skywalker's strike caused a chain reaction that destroyed the Empire's most imposing superweapon and sent political ripples throughout the galaxy. The victory at Yavin sent a clear message to the Empire and rebel sympathizers alike. The initial triumph at Scarif was not a fluke, and Palpatine's empire was exposed and seen as vulnerable. The Galactic Civil War was now in full swing, and holonet footage of the battle station's destruction provided the rebels with a powerful recruiting tool. Despite the rebel success, ultimate victory remained far from certain. Immediately following the attack, they were once again on the defensive as the Empire doubled its resolve to find and eliminate the rebellion. The Alliance leadership left little time for celebrating before calling for a complete evacuation of their hidden base on Yavin 4, rightly concerned that Imperial retaliation will be swift and severe. Though the Death Star was destroyed, The intact Imperial Starfleet continued to grow. The gargantuan cost and loss of the Death Star platform caused the Imperial commanders, at least for a time, to reconsider their approach, and they diverted resources to other programs, such as the Super Star Destroyers. These gigantic battleships were championed by the likes of Grand General Tag, one of the few survivors to have departed the Death Star before the Rebels' attack, leaving him in a position to fill the leadership void left by the station's destruction. In a rebuke of its former commander, Tag dubbed the Death Star program Tarkin's Folly. Another notable survivor, Darth Vader, evaded death, but not the immense embarrassment of losing the Emperor's prized superweapon to a band of defectors and farmhands. Vader would personally lead the effort to hunt down the Rebel Alliance and its new hero, Luke Skywalker. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and learned something new, please like and subscribe. And remember, the Force will be with you, always.